Please welcome Anna Delaval and Benjamin Okeke.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our breakout session on protecting your business and customer with Amazon Brand Protection. I am Anna Delaval, and I'm the director of the Brand Protection Strategic Partnership team here at Amazon.
And hi, everyone. I'm Benjamin Okeke. I'm Senior Corporate Counsel for our North America stores and support several of our Selling Partner Services business teams, including Brand Protection Strategic Partnerships, which makes me Anna's sidekick.
So today, we're going to talk about brands and why they matter. We are also going to provide you with an overview of the intellectual property rights, or IP.
Next, we'll talk about what Amazon does to protect your IP. And finally, we'll talk to you about what you can do to protect your IP in Amazon's store. At the end of this session, we'll host a live Q&A. If you haven't yet downloaded the Accelerate app, you can find instructions on the back of your badge. To submit questions or to vote for questions submitted by others, use your in-app QR code scanner to scan this code. Then select Q&A from the panel on the right.
Great. Let's get started.
Let's go.
So what do you think these two images have in common? Ben, would you like to take a guess?
Okay, well, they're both logos. They're both fairly large brands. They both represent apparel. They're both American companies.
That's right. Yeah. And what you may or may not know, you can find that info in our bios, is that Ben and I both worked at this company as IP attorneys. So we have experience working on the brand side, and we are now bringing that expertise to Amazon to help you grow and protect your brands.
That's right, that's right. Something else about these two brands, they both invested a lot of resource and time into building the brands. They spend a lot of time and resource building great products and designing innovative designs. They use these logos to communicate their ideas to consumers. And they registered their IP in order to reinforce that consumer connection and strengthen their protection of their IP and ideas. But Anna, not everyone is a Nike or a Ralph Lauren. And so IP may not be as important to them. What about the smaller brands?
Well, intellectual property protects both small and big brands and help them grow. So all big brands, actually, if you think about it, at some point in time were small. And they probably wouldn't have gotten where they are today if they hadn't secured their intellectual property.
So let's take a look at these two pairs of shoes. Branding makes a huge difference. You can form an idea just by seeing that shoe on the right about what you think about the shoe and what you're getting when you buy it. So Amazon's definition of a brand is an intangible business concept that helps people identify a company, product, service, or an individual. It conveys to the public's perception and emotional connection to the source of the specific product itself. And it's often associated with things like logos, slogans, or trademarks. But the two key factors to remember is that a brand should identify the source of the specific product, service, or individual, and should also bear a public perception or emotional connection to the brand itself. When you buy a branded item, you formed an opinion about certain qualities of the product or the company. You believe that you're getting a high-quality product or that it was sustainably made. You may also buy a branded item to make a statement about your beliefs, your aspirations, who you are aspiring to become. Building brand reputation, creating positive associations, and gaining customer trust. All this takes a lot of time and energy.
That's correct. And Amazon is known for its customer-centric culture. And a critical part of that culture is earning and maintaining the customer trust. Customers expecting when they buy a product in our store, whether it's sold by Amazon or one of our selling partners, they will receive exactly what they order. And that's why we invest so much in creating a trusted shopping experience. And the first step in the right direction is to protect your intellectual property. So now Ben will dive into what we mean when we talk about intellectual property. It's the foundation of our brand protection. And I will be back in a few to tell you more on how to protect those IP on Amazon.
So what do we mean when we use the term intellectual property? Well, IP covers a lot of things, but think of it as creative works or creations of the mind. These include the unique way you solved a problem by inventing a solution, the visual design of something, literary or artistic works and words or visual components that identify a source. There are various ways to secure rights to your IP, but the three most common are trademarks. Those are names, images, symbols. They identify a source, and they allow us to make quick decisions based on the paradigms that we've already formed about that brand. Something specific to trademarks is that they must be used in commerce in order to stay in force. And then we have copyrights. Those are literary and artistic works, books, paintings, music, the things that make life enjoyable. And then there are tech drawings, not as sexy, but still very important. And the thing about copyrights is that they don't need to be registered to be enforced. You just need to create a tangible manifestation of the idea. But registration is important for effective enforcement of a copyright. And finally, we have the thing that most people think of when they hear intellectual property. Those are patents. These are inventions. Different than trademarks, they're not required to be used in commerce. The owner of that patent decides whether they want to create the product or not. But one piece is that they must make the technical drawings and specifications in the patent clear enough that someone skilled in that art could build that invention just by picking the patent up and reading it. There are also what are called design patents in the United States that cover the design and non-functional components of an invention. Globally, you can find these as industrial designs or design rights. Now, I love this stuff, and I could stand up here all day and talk to you about intellectual property. But out of the respect of time, I'm going to focus on trademarks because we're here to discuss building, growing, and protecting your brands. So trademarks, they can be almost anything that functions to identify the source of goods or services. But they are typically a word, a combination of words or letters and numbers, logos, symbols. Nonetheless, trademarks can also consist of three-dimensional features, such as the shape of a packet or packaging of goods, color shades used as distinguishing features, think of UPS, or non-visible signs such as sounds or fragrances. The possibilities are really only limited by the human imagination. Something else to remember, there are two forms of trademarks, registered and unregistered rights. The unregistered rights in the United States are often called common law rights. There's also a spectrum of trademark rights. And so let's take a look at this diagram. We're going to start with this cup of coffee. The word coffee on a cup of coffee tells you nothing about the source of the coffee. It's a generic term, and generic terms can never function as trademarks. The weakest form of actually protectable trademark are what are called descriptive trademarks. For instance, Yellowstone Hat Company. Tells us a little something about it. It tells us that the company is located in Yellowstone and that they're going to sell us a hat, right? Next, we have our suggestive marks, like Lemonhead. Suggestive marks are marks that tell us a little something, but take a little bit of a mental leap to get all the way there. So with Lemonheads, you can tell from this that these things are probably going to taste like lemons. But from there, you have to make some form of leap to understand what the goods actually are, because clearly they're not asking us to eat heads, right? And then finally, the strongest form of mark are arbitrary and coined terms. Arbitrary marks are marks that take a common term and use it on goods or services that have nothing to do with that term, like Apple for computers. And then there are coined marks. These are marks that were invented by the rights owner. Think Xerox, Kodak, Kleenex. Didn't exist before the mark owner created them, but now are commonplace in our parlance. So the next thing to think about with trademarks are the zone of protection. And that zone is like a force field or a shield around that trademark, meaning that in order for there to be infringement, it doesn't have to be an identical one-for-one match to your trademark. Anything that is similar in connotation, sound, or gives a similar commercial impression to consumers could be found to be infringing on your mark. It gives you a wide zone of protection. And the nature of the mark, and on that spectrum that we just talked about, kind of dictates how large or small that zone of protection really is. The weaker the mark, the smaller the zone of protection. And that means it's more difficult for consumers to differentiate your product from those of another. The purchasing decision becomes much harder, and your enforcement becomes much more difficult. Arbitrary or coined marks enjoy a large zone of protection. It's easier for consumers to differentiate your goods and pick them up, out of a crowd. It makes their purchasing decision that much easier and that much quicker. And also, it makes it much easier for you to enforce your rights because of that zone of protection that we talked about. The last thing you want to consider when thinking about the scope of your trademark is where you want to sell your products. It's good to remember trademarks are bound by the jurisdiction or the geography that issued those rights. Meaning, if you get a trademark in the United States, it is only enforceable in the United States. But if you want to sell in other countries, you're going to need to register your marks there. So now that we've talked about what a trademark is, let's talk about how to protect your IP. There are several options that you as the brand owner can take to protect your IP. First, simple. Just keep it a secret. There are two ways to do this. There are what are called trade secrets, and that's keeping your proprietary information within the four walls of your company. But of course, we're doing business, right? And oftentimes we need to partner up and we need to share information. And so you can keep your secret by having that third party sign what's called a non-disclosure or confidentiality agreement. It keeps them from divulging your secrets and protects you just in case there is a breach. The next thing to do is to make sure you secure your rights and prepare for enforcement actions early. Don't wait until the problem presents itself. The registration process can take time, and in that time, you may be subject to infringement that's eating away at your profits. So register your IP, and you can do this by yourself at your regional patent and trademark office, or with the help of an experienced IP attorney who can help advise on the registration and protection strategy, as well as global expansion plans and the best ways to leverage your mark to connect with consumers. Next thing you want to do is you want to stay on top of how your brand shows up. So you want to conduct searches all along the internet, social media, e-commerce channels. You want to make sure your brand is showing up in the way that you intended it to. This is a message about you. So you want to be vigilant about protecting your investment and your brand's integrity. This is your connection to the consumer and how they perceive you and your company. Think of it as keeping a clean, well-organized store. And finally, there's diligent enforcement. Most e-commerce retailers include provisions in their terms of service that protect brand owners against unauthorized use of their intellectual property. Many retailers include a portal for reporting, detailed procedures to enforce registered and even unregistered IP, and a point of contact to help in quickly resolving the disputes. This could become a very manual process, which can take time and be incredibly time-consuming, especially during peak seasons. So you want to make sure that you're staying on top of it. So registering your IP is a really important first step in protecting your brand. But what happens if you don't have a trademark? No worries, we've got you covered. We launched IP Accelerator with small and medium-sized businesses in mind to address two common pain points that we heard: cost of registering your IP and confusion about the process. So we went out and we recruited law firms that provide very high quality registration services in 13 countries who speak 39 different languages and offer competitive rates. And what this does when you work through the IP Accelerator program is that you not only get a great service to registering your trademark, you also gain faster entry and access to Amazon's brand registry. And this is because rather than having you wait for your trademark application to register, we will enroll you into brand registry upon the application date of that trademark application. And so, Anna, can you please come up now that we've talked a little bit about how to secure the trademark, and tell us a little bit about how brand registry will help them protect their IP.
Of course. Thank you, Ben. That was very insightful. And now that you've secured intellectual property, let's focus on how Amazon can help you protect them in their stores. Our brand protection strategy is centered around 4 pillars. The first is proactive, highly proactive protections and automated efforts to protect the store. The second is industry-leading tool that will help you partner with Amazon to, can we go one slide back, please? One slide back, thank you. Tools that enable the right owners to partner with us to protect their brands. The third is holding bad actors accountable. And the fourth is customer protection and education. So let's begin by reviewing the tools, starting with brand registry. Brand registry is the entry point for you to build and protect your brand. And it's free, regardless of whether you sell on Amazon or not. When you enroll in brand registry, you are raising your hand and say, I'm here, this is my IP. So you become eligible for a set of brand building and brand protection tools such as A+ content, report a violation, Project Zero, transparencies, and more. So before we actually talk about the brand protection tools, let me give you an overview of the brand building tools that are available and you can become eligible for once you enroll in brand registry. A+ content. A+ content gives you an ability to change the product description and add a unique brand story, enhanced images, and text. Manage your customer experience. It allows you to create emails using pre-built templates and send customers information about product launches, gift ideas, or promotions. Manage your experiments lets you run ABP, also called split test, on the titles, the images, the bullet points, and the A+ content. Also, you have the brand referral bonus, which improves your advertising return on investment and earns you an average of 10% bonus from non-Amazon marketing efforts. And finally, brand analytics, which provides you with insight to make informed strategic decisions about your product portfolio, your marketing, and your advertising. And now that you're on the right path to build a very successful brand, it's important that you protect it. When we talk about the brand features and capability of brand registry, we are really focusing on automated brand protection and report a violation tool. So automated brand protection, like the name says, happens automatically. You give us information about your products, your brands, and your IP, and we activate automated protection that allows you to protect your brands and make sure bad listings are not published before you need to report any violation. And in fact, in 2022, Amazon scanned over 8 billion attempted changes to the product detail page every day for sign of potential abuse. Report a violation, instead, is a powerful tool that allows right owners like you to search for, identify, report, and track submission of infringement. And in 2022, the number of notices submitted by brand owners decreased by 35% compared in 2021. That's because every time you file a notice of infringement, our automated protection learn from that notice and become better at proactively recognizing infringement without the need for you to report it next time. So you can see, actually, the impact of your automated brand protection in the brand registry portal. You can access key data points, such as the number of trademarks that you have registered and protected in brand registry. Also, the number of infringing ASINs that have been removed, and the number of invalid new ASINs or invalid modification to existing ASINs that have been prevented thanks to our automated protection. You can view trends, and you can actually filter the data by store, by category, or by brand. Once you have experience using report a violation and have used it accurately, you can also become eligible for Project Zero. Project Zero gives right owners like you the unprecedented ability to remove infringing listing from the store immediately without the need for you to contact us. So also Project Zero saw continued adoption in 2022, and there are over 22,000 brands enrolled in this program. Last but not least, brands can choose to adopt transparency, which is our proprietary serialization service, which provides you with unique codes that you can apply to each unit of a product that you enroll. And this code allows not only Amazon, but also other retailers and law enforcement and customers to verify the authenticity of the product simply by scanning those codes with a mobile app. We saw that over 33,000 brands have adopted transparency in 2022, and that's a 40% growth from 2021. If you would like to adopt transparency, here is how it works. You tell us which product you would like to enroll. We then generate codes using our secure software. Each code is unique and must be applied to every unit of a product enrolled. And after the transparency checks are turned on, the sellers of the enrolled product must provide those codes before selling on an existing ASIN or creating a new ASIN. We also scan those codes before the product is shipped to the customer. So if the right code isn't there, the product doesn't ship. It's that simple. And that ensures that only authentic products reach our customer. And thanks to transparency, in 2022, we protected over 900 million products across the supply chain. So our proactive and infringement reporting tools are our first line of defense. But we go above and beyond to protect our store from fraud and abuse. And so we do so by holding counterfeits accountable. As you know, Amazon strictly prohibits the sale of counterfeit goods and works very hard to pursue the counterfeit in our stores and beyond. That's why in 2020, we established our own counterfeit crime unit, or CCU. And CCU is a global team of investigators, former FBI agents, former prosecutors, data analysts that work with brands, law enforcement, and customers to bring bad actors to justice. They act by building and referring cases to law enforcement, by conducting investigation and pursuing litigation, both criminally and civilly. And in 2022, Amazon CCU partnered with brands big and small like Cartier, King's Technology, GE, Felco, WWE, and many others to pursue over 1,300 bad actors through litigation and criminal referrals. So while we continue to address the issue, both proactively and reactively, we're not perfect. And rare occurrences remain when a customer may buy a counterfeit product. But in those instances, we want the customer to know that they will always be taken care of. For decades, our A to Z guarantee ensures the customer can get a full refund, whether the product is damaged, defective, or materially different from what was ordered. And that guarantee applies to counterfeit too. So as a result of our efforts, and thanks to sellers and brands like you, we have worked hard to make Amazon one of the most trusted companies. And recent reputational poll recognized Amazon for being innovative and trusted. The result of 4 major annual rankings have been released, and Amazon ranked at or near the top in each one of them. And we are honored and humbled by this recognition, and we recognize that we couldn't have done this without you. The partnership we have with brands and sellers is based on trust, and we don't take that trust for granted. Thank you. And now, let's bring Ben back on stage to help wrap the things up.
Before we jump into the questions, I just want to thank you again for your time, your thoughtful engagement, and your partnership.